Alright guys, this video is going to be on how to make an interactable light in a simple scene. So you can turn a light on and off in Unreal. First off, I want my level to be a little bit darker. I'm going to look behind me and go find the directional light. If you want to type DIR up here, you can find the directional light. And I'm going to go over to its details and turn down the intensity a bit. Not to 0, maybe I'll go 0.1 or 1. Something like that. I still won't be able to see, but just be able to see the lights going off. And I think maybe 0.5 is my magic number here. So, you want a light. Let's go drag out a point light and move this up. It looks a little bit better if it's close to a wall, you'll see. I do not like the way it floats in the air. So let's go turn this thing off and on. You might think, well, I can go to my level blueprint and add a bunch of code there to turn this particular light off and on. If I right click, I can get a reference to the point light and I can drag off, and don't do this, I'm just showing you what's possible. Things that the light can do, I can probably find the light's intensity and get it or set it and stuff like that. But I would have to do that for every light that I wanted to interact with. I would have to edit them all in the level blueprint to give them some code. So how do I make my life easier? Well, I'm going to right click down in the gray space and add a new blueprint class. And if you have never done this before, this will be a nice and easy, gentle one, so don't worry too much. We're going to ignore all the scary ones and just do the top one, an actor. This is a generic, general Unreal object, and it has a bunch of code in common with all other actors. And we'll see what that is in a minute. I need to change the name here. This is going to be my Light Blueprint. So instead of New Blueprint, I'm going to change it to Light Blueprint. And I'm going to double click on this. Calling it a Light Blueprint doesn't make it a Light Blueprint. Let's drag this up here. Now I can dock it and see my blueprint next door to my level. And I'm going to delete the existing light from the scene. I want to add some components to this light. The components are the things that make up a light, or any object I should say. If you click on this, you'll see you can add audio sources, particle systems like fire and lightning, water maybe. You can add point lights. You can add meshes like static meshes for pickups like food or gems or anything somebody's modeled for you in a 3D modeling program like Blender. You can also add the basic shapes into Unreal blueprints, and we'll do that in a second. Notice there's a whole slew of things here. We don't want to get into all these. If you haven't ever seen before, you can add collision. So this blueprint can sense collision, which we'll do momentarily. Scrolling down, we can add some other types of lights. And, well, and some basic objects. The arrow is what points forward. It's a little helper on a character to see which way their nose should face and stuff like that. So you can also add text objects or menu objects like a widget. So those are some categories of things we can add. Now, the common ones are the ones we'll use the most, so we'll just stick there. I'm going to go add a point light, and if you know the name of it, you can type it up here, and I'll just click on point light, and you'll see it adds it to the scene. You can't really see the point light. It just has a different icon here. Now, I am going to just leave the point light for now. I don't like just leaving it empty like that and having nothing else in there. But I'm going to hit compile and go drag out a couple of these light blueprints so you can see what they do. Now, I want you to see that I can have several instances or copies or clones of the same blueprint, and they can all change their individual properties, I think. Let's go to this light and scroll down to its details on the point light component. Okay. So the main object is called Light Blueprint. It has a default scene root, which we'll explain in a minute, and it has a component called Point Light. If I go to that Point Light component, I can change this light's color to red, this light's Point Light component to green, and this light's Point Light component to blue. So they can all have individual properties. I'll move this away from the wall a little bit so we can see a little better. There we go. And that's pretty cool. They could also all have individual intensities. I can make them brighter or darker. I can change their attenuation radius, which is how fast the light falls off, or disappears. You can see a really tight light right there and a really diffuse or spread out light right there. And I don't know what the rest of these settings do, so I'm not going to touch them so I don't look silly. If you ever want to go back to the default settings, you hit this arrow and put it back to the way it was when it was made. All right, so what can we do now? Check this out. I'm going to go change the light blueprint. I am going to, I could change the default values on all these. I could change the default intensity, light, color, attenuation radius and stuff, but I'm going to go add a cylinder, I think. I'm going to type CYL and add a cylinder. Okay, now it's on top of the light right now. If I go hit save or compile, this button here would get a green check. You'll see that all three of my instances or clones of that point light were updated, and it looks kind of silly. Let's go make this look more like a torch. I am going to do a couple little things with shenanigans right here. I want you to see that there's a level of indentation right here, these arrows right here. This is the granddaddy, this is the dad, and this is the child, the kid. Okay? When it says root, that is the main parent of everything else. So if you've never heard of parenting in a game or a 3D project or anything like that, it just means who is the boss of who. Okay? Just like your parent is the boss of you. So this default scene root is the parent or the boss of point light. And point light is the boss of cylinder. And I know because I can see it's tabbed in and their arrow here will disappear it if I hit it. What does that mean? If I click on the point light and move it around, it moves its child with it. You'll notice the cylinder moves with it. And I'm going to hit Control Z to undo and put it back where it was. Notice that any child can move independently of its parent. If I click and drag this, the cylinder moves and the light stays where it is. And I'll hit Control Z again. Well, I want this cylinder to be the parent of the light or to have them on different levels. So to make sense of this, I'm also going to add a sphere to this. And I want to, why did you go over there? I'm going to drag the sphere over, try to get it lined up with everything else. And if you don't like the location of things, you can always type 0, 0, 0 here to put it back in the middle and then move it from there. I'm going to move the sphere up. Okay. And I don't quite like this cylinder the way it is now. And I'm going to show you something here that you need to watch close attention to. If I resize this sphere, the cylinder right now, who's its child? Well, the sphere is, which is kind of good. If I move that base, the cylinder, the sphere moves with it. But I have a problem. If I resize the cylinder right now with my scale tool, I want it to be a skinny, tall, kind of a, what do you call it? Lamp post or something. You'll see that the sphere also shrinks with it, and that was not what I wanted. Oops. If you ever undo too far, you can hit Control Y to redo. So let's do this again. I'm going to go smaller if it'll let me. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, everything shrunk because when you move, rotate, or scale, the children do the same thing with it. So I need to make it so the sphere is not a child of the cylinder right now. So I'm going to drag the sphere up and drop it on, I think scene root is the safest thing. You got two choices is the nice thing when you drop it on default scene root, is you can either attach it or make a new root. I'm going to avoid making things a new root for now. You might need it if you're doing fancy physics stuff later, but I'm just going to hit attach. And check this out. If I do the same thing with the cylinder and drop it on default scene root and hit attach, you'll see that nobody is anybody's boss. The cylinder, sphere, and point light all move independently of each other, and nobody is a parent right now except the default scene root, which you can't really access directly. There's no move tool with it. So let's do this. I'm going to go take the cylinder, and I am going to shrink it down once, twice. I'm going to make it taller just in the blue once, twice. And so it looks kind of like a little, what do you call it, torch or something. It's kind of silly. But you'll see here that this thing is still one tall in the blue or the Z direction. I'll show you why that's important. And I might even make it skinnier. I kind of like that. I'm going to go smaller, smaller. And I still want it to be one tall. It looks like it goes inside the ball a little bit, which isn't my favorite. But I'm going to show you something advanced later on, I hope, that will make this a little more useful. But I'll tell you right now, I want this transform point to be at the bottom eventually, but I can't do it just yet. okay? And I'll explain why later. All right, now that they're kind of split up like this, we can go say, who's the boss of who? Well, I want the point light to be moved up into this sphere somewhere. And I want the sphere to be kind of see-through, so I'm going to click on sphere. And I'm going to go over to the right side under its green materials, and I'm going to type GLAS and find, oh, I got lots of glasses. I think you should just have one or two. I like that one that has kind of the skybox on it, but it's still pretty see-through. And so this will kind of create a cool effect. I'm going to click on the cylinder, and I'm going to go type wood and add some kind of wood to this, oops, and choose it. You'll have to choose from the list. And that looks silly, but we'll call it good, okay? So let's hit save and go see what happened now. I'm going to go back to my third-person map, and you see that, well, these got added. And, oh, they look definitely silly, but, yeah, I updated the blueprint for one, and now it happens to all of them. The reason I want this center point change is when you drag an object out in Unreal, its center point determines where it teleports to the map. So I'm going to undo that. Let's go see if I can fix this. I did it the other day. First off, the parenting thing, I want to make sure that when I move the base, these two things move with it. The light and the sphere move with it. Just for my own benefit, I think it's going to help me feel more comfortable with this. So can you tell what needs dragged where to get the light and the sphere to follow the cylinder? Drag it and drop it. Drag it and drop it. And if you want the light to just follow the sphere, this is grandchild, parent, and child right here. If you put the point light on the cylinder, it's just parent, and it has two babies, two children right here. If you don't know what I'm saying right here, if it's kind of nonsense, you can just ignore it. But note what happens if the cylinder moves, those things move with it. And right now, if the sphere moves, the point light moves with it, okay? If you understand that part of parenting, you're doing pretty good so far. Let me show you one more thing we can add that's kind of an optional thing, but I'm going to go add a, what is it called? Yeah, this is weird. It's a utility scene. It's a scene component that has a scene transform and can be added to other scene components. Well, this is a weird one. I'm going to pause real quick and make sure I do it right. So I added that scene component, and it put it as a child of the sphere, which I don't like. I'm going to drag it up to a default scene root and hit attach. And right now the scene, notice that it is alongside of cylinder right now. They're neighbors, and this is not tabbed in. That means I can move the scene around and not have it affect anything else, which is what I want. You'll notice its location is off at some weird location on mine. I'll hit 0, 0, 0 here to teleport to the middle. And I want the scene down at the bottom of this post, this pole. The reason is that's going to be my new center point. Now, if you have to turn off snapping, you can change the amount of snapping, 5, 10. So if this doesn't line up the best way that you think is possible, you can turn snapping off by hitting this blue grid, and you can move it freely. You can go, but then you start getting decimals and stuff in your numbers, and it doesn't snap as well. And snapping in Unreal is awesome. So use grid snap whenever you can, this blue button, but turn it off if you need to. All right, we're covering a lot of topics, but I like that for this video. I'm going to make the scene my new root. I'm going to drag it on to default scene root. Ooh, and it replaced it. That makes me nervous. I think it's going to, oh, it ruined everything. Yeah, because everything else was had a scale to it. So let's see, can I put it on cylinder? No, I don't want it to be a child of cylinder. I'm going to pause for just a moment. Okay, it's kind of working. I'm not 100% happy with it, but the default scene root isn't really anything. It's kind of an empty placeholder. So if I drop scene up here, the first time it shrunk everything, which I didn't like, and it made everything jump down back to its 0 position. So I think what I did a second ago was wrong. What I need to do now is take the cylinder and move it, the child of scene, okay, and this is just kind of a new scene root. And I'm going to move the cylinder, the base of my torch, up. I want it to basically be where the center point is now. Okay, so the scene and the cylinder right now have the same center point. If I move this up, and I'm going to keep an eye on zoom in, it needs, the bottom of the thing needs to be where my arrow, where the center is now. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I just need to change this number to 0. Okay, by doing that, see, it's -10. If I go too far, it's +10. by doing it the way I did it, now if I hit compile and drag this out, it has a new center point. And the cool thing is if I scale these guys, if I go make this light bigger or smaller, it scales from its new root, new center point, which is the bottom, so it scales from the ground. And this is good for player characters especially, right? Like if you make a monster or something, you want him to scale from his feet and not from his belly button and his feet going to the ground. That was a lot of explanation, I apologize. In the next video, we are going to get some interaction with this thing and turn the light off and on. We'll see you then.